Happy Thursday, Mickey class. I'm sorry if this video is a little bit shaky. I'm using my cell phone, which means I'm holding it on my hand, so maybe my hand is moving like this a little bit. So I'm sorry about that. But let's talk about our Cornell book for this week. Some people were at school to learn, and some people were not. So let's just start everything new, okay? So these are the vocabulary words. I'm actually going to talk about them a lot more later, but let's just make sure we know how to say them correctly first, okay? So we have our shopping cart, shopping basket, frozen food. You can say frozen foods, but usually you say frozen food because food can mean one thing or food can mean many things. Canned food, again, usually you don't need to put the S. Dairy products, meat, vegetables, and fruit. So these are all things that you can see inside a supermarket. So let's do some conversation questions that you can think about after we make sure we understand what all of the words are. So you can pause the video and come back later to the conversation questions if you need to. But I would like you to think about two things that your mom or dad can buy at the supermarket. Now remember, if we're talking, let's say you're talking about our mom, you need to say she buys something and something. We cannot say she buy. She buy bread and milk. No. She buys, okay? Can you buy a car at the supermarket? Can you buy underwear at the supermarket? Can you buy coffee at the supermarket? Can you buy noodles at the supermarket? I want you to think about all of these questions, and the answer is either yes, you can, or no, you cannot. This is another good practice that you can do with your mommy and daddy and family to think about, what can you buy at the supermarket? And let's think about dairy products. We can think about naming two kinds of dairy products, two kinds of canned foods. I am going to show you my kitchen soon, and so then we can see, okay, what kind of things are there? And remember, we talked about the kinds of supermarkets. So which supermarket do you go to, right? We have Welcome, RT Mart, PX Mart, Costco, Carrefour. We talked about City Super and Jason's. Oh, there are just so many. A-Mart. So many supermarkets. So a lot of the supermarkets have a Chinese name and an English name, right? So we talked about how Carrefour, most people know that is Jia Le Fu, right? And that in English we just say Carrefour. So PX Mart, that also has a Chinese name, RT Mart, they all do. So when we're talking English, we should try to say the English name of the supermarket. And almost all of the supermarkets in Taiwan have an English name on them and a Chinese name on them. So when next time you go, see if you can see the English name on that supermarket. Let's talk about phonics. We're talking about O-B, ob, the ob family. We need to make sure it sounds like a short O, ah. So we don't want it to be ob. We don't want it to sound like ab, eb, ib, ub. Those are the other short vowels. We want ob. Ob. We have Bob. That is the name of a boy's name. My grandpa, his name is Bob. Grandpa Bob. Rob is to steal, to take something. So a bad guy at the bank maybe will rob it. That's what we talked about in our 3C book. Sob. That is to cry. And now, I just said that a little bit incorrectly. We need to make sure we're not saying sob, right? Sob, cry. Why are you sobbing? Glob is not a word that you are going to use very much. Glob is just a big piece of something. Oh, there is a big glob of glue on your paper. I do not say this so much, but it is still a good word to know. Now, let's go look at the Cornell Book vocabulary I have in my kitchen. Okay, first let's look at my frozen foods. See what we have in here. Many things, because I know I will be at home for a long time. Frozen foods. Hash browns. Hash browns you can buy in your frozen food section. I have actually vegetables in my freezer, so that when I buy so many vegetables, I'll put some in my freezer and save them for later. So I have some green beans. That actually comes from the vegetable section, not the frozen food section. I have some tomatoes from the vegetable section. But if you have a frozen vegetable, these are my avocados from Costco. These are in the frozen food section because they need to stay in the freezer. Oh, what else? I have some things from the meat section in here. You know that I cannot eat meat. I am a vegetarian, but I have some chicken nuggets that are made without meat. Plant-based, that means that these are all vegetables inside my chicken nuggets, but I still bought this inside the meat section at Jason's. I also have Omnipork. Omnipork is also meat. It is like pork, but it uses plants. That is what the plant-based means. So that, again, is not real meat, but I can still buy it in the meat section. What else in here came from the frozen food section? I have some healthy ice cream. This came from the frozen food section. All ice cream needs to be in the frozen food section. You cannot put ice cream in a refrigerator. This is more avocados. This is like a breakfast egg cake that also came from the frozen section. These are some cheese sticks. They're like sausages on a stick, but it's cheese inside. That also came from the frozen section. So most of the things in your freezer come from the frozen food section, but not all. Some can be from the meat section, and some can be from the fruits and vegetables section. Let's look at my refrigerator, my fridge. I have many fruits and vegetables in here. Let's see, I have a broccoli, that is from the vegetable section, bananas from the fruit section, carrots and kale from the vegetable section. Kale is like a leafy food. It's like leafy, it's a little bit like cabbage or spinach, kale. These all came from the fruits and vegetables section. Now remember, another word for fruits or vegetables is produce. So these came from the produce section, which is fruits and vegetables at a supermarket. I also have tofu, which came from close to the meat section. I put my bread in the fridge too. That came from the bakery section at Costco. Dairy. What kind of dairy do I have? I have yogurt. Yogurt needs to come from the dairy section because there is milk inside yogurt. I have some blueberry yogurt. I have some butter. And I have some milk. This came from the dairy section at Costco. And this came from the dairy section at 7-Eleven, I think. This is like milk, but it is not from a cow. It is from oats. Oat is a kind of plant. So this is my oat milk. I have some orange juice. Orange juice, this came from my, well, that didn't come from the fruit section, right? It didn't come from the dairy section. This just came from the refrigerated section. I have some olives. This is my favorite food. Oh, so many people think it's yucky, but I think it's so good. This is all from the canned food section. I put it in my fridge after it came home, but before you open, it was in the canned food section because it's in a can. Also, I have some jam that came from the canned food section. So these are the things in my refrigerator and freezer. So the job I have for you now, oh my goodness, I am not in this camera. Hang on, there we go. The job I have for you now is to go look inside your freezer and your refrigerator and your shelves with all of the food, your cupboards, and I want you to see what food you have that is from the frozen food section, and the vegetable section, and the meat section, and the fruit section, and the canned food, and the dairy products. I want you to see what food in your house comes from each section, because those are the sections that you need to go to at the supermarket to buy them. Try to think of all the English names for the food. I know some of the English names are very difficult, but again, if you have questions, you can ask Google or you can ask me in the comments down here. So this is our practice for our 3D Cornell book, lesson 1 for this week. And I will see you all tomorrow.